Hey, what's up, my people? How you doing? My name is Dalton, and this is my channel. And I want to say hello to the existing subscribers and my new ones, as well as my new viewers and my existing viewers. Now, what I want to talk to you today is about a scandal. And I learned about this scandal because I had to create a term paper on it when I was going to college, getting my bachelor's in science as a crime analysis. This scandal is called Rampart Scandal. Okay, some people might call it Rampart Review. And basically, what happened is this. I'm gonna rap to you and let you know. Okay, back in the '80s, late '70s, early '80s, there was a group in Los Angeles created on a police force. Now, this police force was called, I believe, Crash. Okay, and it was a successful uh, organization within the police force, and they were highly trained officers, and their job was really to go after gangs and criminals. Okay, and gang violence was rampant at that time. Okay, so Crash actually worked for about 2 years. Okay, it was successful, and then it wasn't. And let me explain to you about the Rampart scandal in Los Angeles. Okay, they began to become these police officers began to break the law and become criminals themselves, and they were police officers, and they were the worst type of police officers because they were criminals as well. And this is what they were doing. Some of the things they were doing a lot. They actually would bust these gangs, and they would bust criminals. Okay, and they would, put them in jail. But then they started busting innocent people. Even if a woman wouldn't date one of the guys, they could set her up with some drugs. And they would set her up as if she was had drugs in her car or whatever. They were doing some of the most horrific, illegal things you could ever imagine. Okay, they were blackmailing people. Now, how they became busted? They became so confident in what they were doing. Give you an example. They would bust gangs, right? And then they would steal all the gangs' money, weapons, and drugs, and then they would sell those drugs and weapons. That's right. These were police officers. And all the other police officers, you may ask yourself, well, why didn't they say anything about these particular police officers or all the other agencies, law enforcement agencies, and police officers? They knew what they were doing, but they were scared to say anything because these crooked police officers had access to where these other officers' families lived, where their kids go to school, okay? The things and the times they did things, social gatherings, okay? And these dirty officers knew how to set people up. They knew how to make things look like an accident. They knew how to make people disappear. You got to remember, these are police officers, okay? And they know the tricks of the trades, the dirty tricks of the trade. So one day, one of the Crash members was messing around with a police officer's girlfriend, and that Crash member actually killed a police officer and temporarily got away with it. And there's even audio where that particular police officer of crash was bragging about it, saying that he wished that he would have killed more black people. Okay? And the sad part about it, this was in a meeting with other officers, and you could hear some other officers laughing. And once the investigation went in on that particular officer and that unit, that's when they found out all the dirty things that was going on. And the investigation was done by an organization that was not connected to Los Angeles or any of those particular law enforcement agencies around that area. Okay? And once that was done, that's when crash began to unravel, and all the dirty deeds and blackmailing and threatening of all the officers came out. Okay, and you wonder why am I bringing this up? A lot of young people don't know anything about the Rampart review or the Rampart scandal. Okay, but one of the main things that's happened is that those particular officers have got away with doing, that group got away with doing so much, illegal activity as an officer, as a group of law enforcement people, that they felt that they were above the law and untouchable. Recently, an incident happened that everybody knows about in Memphis, and that group was also a special group called Scorpion. Okay, and you could tell with the videos being showed now that particular group thought they were above the law. And the sad part about it is they killed a young man. Okay, and all this is on the news. And the weird part about it is that if you look at those videos, 5 officers, were convicted, but there's more involved than that, more officers than that. And for some reason, Memphis is protecting the white officer that was at the scene. Okay. Now, those officers did go to jail, and they busted that. They dissolved that group, that law enforcement group. Okay. And when they went to court and they found out everything, how they blackmailed people, how they blackmailed and even killed innocent people, and blackmailed innocent people of all races, and had them in prison and jail, how they set them up, okay, and how they stole all the money from these gangs, and how they started, how they stole all the money from the gangs, and how they sold drugs out of the law enforcement agencies. And as I stated, many of the police officers were too scared to go up against them because that's how powerful they were, and they had access to all those other police officers' personal information and their families. And they know how to set people up, how to kill people. They know how to make them disappear. Okay, and make something look like an accident. And when I see these officers, Scorpion, and there was other officers. There was a white officer that, for some reason, Memphis is trying to protect him like he's the crown jewel. It reminds me of what happened with Rodney King, but it definitely reminds me of the Rampart scandal and that organization. Okay, and one thing you got to keep in mind is people like that in these organizations, they get so confident that they are above the law. And what they did to that young man and how they did it too was wrong. And I think that they will get their just due. Okay? But one thing is clear, is it's not the first time they have done this, okay, to someone. And they really thought they were going to get away with it. This is just the first time they got caught. You got to remember, when criminals, and they are criminals, I don't care if they have a blue badge on, when criminals, when they get caught, that does not mean it's the first time they did what they did. Okay. And clearly, by the way they were acting, they didn't think that there was going to be any problem. They would be able to get away with it. And, I can go into more details about the Rampart scandal and how it reminds me, how this recent incident reminds me of that, as well as how the incident reminds me of Rodney King. And again, I want to stress that for some reason they're not showing the white officers that were there. Okay, and there's another problem. It took in some cases, it took almost 2 years before the white officers that did wrong, white and Asian officers that did wrong against Afro Americans and other people could come to court. But it only took 20 days to get them black officers in jail. Okay? And sometimes it reminds me of one thing you learn about when you're taking criminal justice and you're getting a degree in it. It's the them or us philosophy. Okay? And it's like it's either them or it's us as a group of officers. And they're trying to create brand new philosophies and get rid of that, but many people fall back into that pattern. And when they do fall back in that pattern, they ignore the fact of whatever race, color, nationality they become. They just become a blue line. Okay? That the bad officers feel they can get away with anything. And they're above the law. And again, my sympathy goes out to the family, to that young man's child, and all the people that were involved and had this done to them that law enforcement don't even know about, that this group or any group has done to them. And one thing about the Rampart scandal that's fascinated me so much, and I had to do a term paper on it, was the fact that these groups have been around. These groups within groups within groups have been around for years, way before now. Okay, they were around in like when they were kings and queens.